Good evening, good morning. Welcome to PADM 404, Homeland Security and Defense in Practice. I'm Rowan Sharma, and I will be your instructor for this semester for this course. I just want to use this YouTube video to kind of introduce you to the course, discuss expectations, and then start with lesson 1. So you have the syllabus in front of you, or you have the syllabus and the lessons in front of you as well. Hopefully this video will give you a little bit of interaction with me, show my face so you have an understanding of who you're working with, as well as just explain my expectations in person, or as close to in person as possible. So this is a course on Homeland Security. It's a course on the practical sides of Homeland Security. In your other courses, you might have been taught theory, if you're coming from the political science side, about political theory. This is kind of how the sausages are made, for lack of a better term. How Homeland Security initiatives and programs are funded, how they're decided upon, and how they're actually implemented. So get your mind wrapped around that. How does Homeland Security work in the executive branch, in Congress? How does it work vertically when you're talking about municipalities and states? How is this all funded? How is it going to be effectively employed when you have scenarios like Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Sandy and the Boston Marathon attacks? So this is again, a focused, practical viewpoint on Homeland Security. So just the overall course objectives, you see more detailed ones in your syllabus, just to hit the high points. Understanding of the HSGP, Homeland Security Grant Program, and that's what your final paper will be on, and that will be a theme throughout this course, is the Homeland Security Grant Program. So we talk about it in one of the future lessons, and then we kind of go into detail from how it's implemented, what's successful about it, what isn't. Analysis of DHS post 9/11 programs. We're going to talk particularly in lesson 1. 9/11 happens. Then we have 9/11 Commission. We have these fusion centers. We've spent billions of them. We've spent billions on the Homeland Security grant programs, on Stone Garden, the urban security initiatives. We're going to analyze these. What's successful? What is? Why not? What are the gaps in our national preparedness? And then I said evaluation of success of these programs, and then finally I say Homeland Security. I say call it vertically integrated. Call it what you want, but we talk a lot about Homeland Security at the federal level and the intelligence community at the federal level. We don't talk about, either in this rest of this program or nationally, is Homeland Security at the state and local issue, and how that's integrated with the federal government. For those of you who remember Hurricane Katrina, one of the problems with Katrina was that there was poor integration vertically between the federal government, the state government, and the local government. And this course will kind of examine that, or that integration on multiple levels. So just overview of your work products. Each lesson, and you can see I'll talk about the lessons in a second, we'll have a discussion section. That will be an opportunity for your class for you to to answer questions and to interact with 2 of your classmates. So those discussion sections are important. Each lesson you'll get a question and you'll discuss in detail. Please answer the questions about 200, 250 words, and then about 100, 150 words to respond to your classmates. I also, even though we have the questions already decided, I reserve the right to bring in current events on the discussion section. And there's a current event every week in this course. There's something that happens pretty much every week that's Homeland Security related. In fact, as I speak now, in December 2014, what's hitting the news is this Korean hacking of Sony movie theaters. And you can imagine the next step would be Korean hacking of critical infrastructure. And that's something, if I see an article, or even if you guys see an article, please put it on the discussion section, and we can start a little bit of a discussion surrounding that. So that's the first work product. The second is a series of short papers, executive summaries, talking points, that are pretty short, 1,000 words, 1,500 words. Most of these are information papers. As we get closer to the course, what I'm expecting is a little bit more analysis in these papers as we're going through. So the first one's going to be primarily just an information paper. But as we go through, in questions of describe the intelligence sharing or in the intelligence community or the intelligence initiatives that we've done since 9/11, I expect you to list them, but I also expect you to explain the so what. Why did we have them? Why did we need intelligence fusion centers? What capability do they bring that the intelligence agencies currently do not have? So that's an example, but I expect that kind of 2 to 3 sentences of analysis as we progress in these papers, which again occur at every lesson. There'll be the FEMA courses, which are pretty good. We've had some technical issues with them in the past, but they look good now. You're in the first week of class, you have to register an account with FEMA, and then you'll take the courses during lessons 6 and 7. They're good courses. If you upload that you've completed it, I'll give you full credit. And then lastly is the term paper, and that's the last lesson. And I give the entire lesson so you can focus on the term paper. Term paper is 2,000 to 2,500 words, so it's a little bit more in detail. More importantly, as opposed to any of your previous papers, it's an analysis type of paper. It is not a just information or anything like that. I want your analysis on it, and we'll talk about that later in the course. So just lesson 1, I'm not going to go through these lessons details, but these are the 8 lessons. We'll start off this week with the legal basis, and then the non-codified legal basis, the actual Homeland Security Acts, the post 9/11 Commission, and I'll talk about that in a second. Second is the non-codified authorities, the non-congressional, mainly the executive orders that have been passed by President Bush, President Obama, even President Clinton, relating to Homeland Security. And then lesson 3, we talk about the Homeland Security Grant Program, which again is a main focus of this course. So soak up the lessons of that lesson pretty astutely. We go into intelligence sharing, lesson 4, and not just the intelligence community partners in the federal government, but intelligence sharing vertically. And then the last few lessons, the DHS risk assessment methodology. That's important because that ties back into the Homeland Security Grant Program for lesson 5. That talks about allocation of resources. Why do we spend money on this and not that? How does the Homeland Security do the calculations so we're spending money in the right places? Lesson 6 is critical infrastructure, and I'll talk about that in a future lesson, and then the Homeland Security exercise and evaluation program. So this is kind of the each module for the course. And then the final lesson, again, dedicated to the term paper completely. So there's an overview, and please go ahead and peruse those in the syllabus so you get the objectives in more detail. So I just want to, again, conclude this YouTube with lesson 1, legal basis for implementing Homeland Security initiatives. And this is a pretty straightforward lesson. You can, again, see it in your workbook there. But overall, understanding of the objective, there's several objectives, but basically it comes down to understanding the post 9/11 threat and resulting programs. Key documents, 9/11 Commission Report, Patriot Act, Homeland Security Act, Intelligence and Reform Act, which I don't have there. Those are the key documents. The discussion for this week is going to be, or for this lesson, will be, did we miss the warning signs prior to 9/11? There's a lot written on this, so between the 9/11 Commission papers and anything you find on the internet, we want to ask the question, did we miss the warning signs prior to 9/11? And for this discussion, I don't want you to kind of Monday morning quarterback. Everyone could say, hey, the president should have known this, or the intelligence community should have known this. But I want you to give solid recommendations, considering this was a pre-9/11 mentality, some solid recommendations and solid thought on what did we miss? Should we have known this prior in our pre-9/11 environment? And that's kind of our discussion focus. And then the paper is just an information paper on the 4 documents I mentioned earlier. It's pretty straightforward. Just covers each one of the documents, a summary of each each one of the documents and the so what that is required. So if there's any questions or issues, please do not hesitate to ask. I am available for not just questions on obviously the course, but if you want to talk about careers in Homeland Security, careers in the federal government, military to civilian transitions, because I know there's a lot of military folks in this class, feel free. And if there's any questions or issues, please let me know.